and welcome back to the Glass Seats podcast. This is our show where two hockey aficionados discuss their perspectives on headlines surrounding the NHL, including recent stories, game highlights, league culture, and other topics trending amongst the fans. This is Viddy.
And my name is Mrinal, and this week in hockey, we are ready to build to the next season.
Yes, finally.
By the time this will be coming out, we'll be approximately 1 month out from preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get started with season previews.
Yeah. Do you see or I guess NFL preseason is now over by the time we're recording this, but I've been seeing that and it just made hockey feel even that much farther away, honestly.
Yeah, the NFL gets like a month head start on us.
I mean, granted they have one game a week, but still, I don't know. Something about, I don't know. Maybe their whole scheduling is more tailored to the adults or working adults. But anyways.
Yeah. I feel it when the Baseball World Series starts because I know that overlaps with hockey opening season.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, baseball's going into playoffs.
Yeah.
Then hockey's around the corner.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We use other sports to keep track of hockey.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
There's only so much F1 I can watch in the summer.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
So we're going to be doing previews.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going through every team eventually. For this episode, we're going to focus on the Atlantic Division. Quick note on how we're going to do this. We're going to go through, we're going to give our thoughts on each team. We're going to put each team into one of four categories. So they're going to be the contenders, those who are most likely going to be fighting for the Stanley Cup at the end of the season. They're going to be the playoff teams where they will definitely make the playoffs, but we don't really see them going that far, or they're not really going to fight for the cup win at the end. There's going to be those fringe teams that may or may not make the playoffs. And then there's going to be lottery teams, which definitely will not make the playoffs, and they don't even care about making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then right at the end of the episode, we'll give our 1 to 8 ranking of each division.
All right. Let's do it.
So we are starting in the Atlantic, which means we are starting with the big, bad Boston Bruins, who aren't so big and bad anymore.
No, not at all. If anything, I think this offseason has made them weaker. With the departure of, most notably, I would say David Krejci as well as Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, those are two top centers that are just both retired.
Yeah, and I mean, those are really big shoes to fill. It's not like they were just kind of there on team-friendly. I mean, they were there on team-friendly deals, but they were still contributing. So yeah, those are two big holes to fill. I don't know.
We talked about Patrice Bergeron, I think in our last episode, retiring, and the resume that's just gone, you're not replacing that.
No, that's a very difficult. Yeah,
you're talking about getting in a generational talent level, like a McDavid or a Matthews, to replace that.
It's also the leadership aspect missing. So
that too.
Who knows how much impact he had on the other centers, the young guys, people like Pastrnak, Hall, stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and this has been coming for the Bruins, right?
Yeah.
They've been kind of stretching out this window as long as
They've
can.
had such a long window. I don't think anyone feels bad for them.
Long window. They won the Cup in 2011. They were in several finals also. So I think it's time for them to get younger, and they kind of did that. They brought in Morgan Geekie at center, who was in Seattle, but it's not Patrice Bergeron, at least not yet.
Yeah.
A couple other people they brought in, just depth to kind of fill out the lineup, right? Milan Lucic, James Van Riemsdyk, Kevin Shattenkirk. A lot of depth players, but no one really to move that needle. Big moves that they did. They extended Jeremy Swayman in goal. So they're set with Swayman and Allmark for a little bit. Of course, they have David Pastrnak still there, Brad Marchand still there. So this is kind of a team that's starting to transition, but still has quite a bit of firepower.
Yeah. What do you think about the reunion with Milan Lucic? I'm not really sure why they did that.
I don't know. I think maybe they've accepted the window's closed and Lucic wants to come back for his last couple of years. Could be that.
You say the window's closed?
Yeah, we'll get to the category, but I think they're closed.
Wow. Okay.
You don't lose your top two centers, and they don't have. Pavel Zacha is probably going to be their top center, and he's not at the level that you need from a top center. No hate on Pavel Zacha, but that's not the role he should be playing.
Yeah, at least not for a team that's trying to win a cup in the Atlantic.
Yeah,
out of the Atlantic.
They still have decent goalies, like I said. They still have Charlie McAvoy on defense. So I think the other positions are quite strong, which will push them higher in the rankings, I think. But I don't have them in a contender category. I should say that.
Where do you have them?
I have them as a fringe team.
Fringe team, okay.
I don't even know if they'll make the playoffs.
Wow, okay. I have them as a playoff team, but in terms of ranking, I don't have them at the high of the playoffs. Like,
Yeah.
I do think they'll make it in on either the third seed or, wildcard team.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it's pretty much not guaranteed, but I do think it's likely they'll make the playoffs. And a lot of that has to do with the overall strength of the Atlantic Division.
Yeah.
There's really good teams and really bad teams.
I was doing the notes for this and I was like, wow, Atlantic is a lot different from last year.
Yeah. The teams there are either like scary or not scary at all.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, I have them at 3 in the ranking, and we'll see, obviously. But
I have them at 4 as a fringe team. It's like they're right at that level.
Yeah.
Where, they're not winning the division again.
No. Definitely not the Presidents again.
But yeah, no hate on the Bruins. Long window, like we said.
Yeah.
Shall we move along?
Yeah.
To Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah. Interesting team. And we saw them get, in my opinion, I think they look better without Jack Eichel. I think they look more, not better. They have a stronger identity now, it feels like.
That's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
They're objectively a worse team.
Yeah.
But they feel like more cohesive.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly how it felt. I mean, you had kids like Tage Thompson, like not kid, I don't actually know how old he is, but one of the younger guys, and like actually stepping up. Jeff Skinner had a sort of a comeback here, I guess you could say.
I mean, he's still playing top 6.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he did fall off on his first couple years of the Buffalo extension, I think.
Yeah, but look at his stats from last season: 35 goals, 82 points.
Yeah, which is really good. He's playing up to that contract level again.
Yeah.
Dahlin had a pretty good season, 73 points. Yeah, I think I don't think Buffalo's there just quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's trending upwards, which as a Sabres fan, that's all you really want to see. Like, because I don't think this is let's just kind of send it and see if we can win a cup. I think this is really, they're building a strong team for the future.
Yeah, like I think I'm really excited about Dahlin. Like a lot of people saying this could be a breakout year for him.
You think so?
Yeah, they want to see Dahlin in that Norris conversation. And I mean, 73 points, he's getting there.
Yeah.
Like if Erik Karlsson didn't have an otherworldly year, like I think Dahlin would have been in the conversation.
Yeah, I could see that.
But Erik Karlsson scored 100 points and ran away with it. Right?
Yeah, that kind of shut down all arguments. But I think Buffalo's got a very bright future and probably one of the stronger cores in the Atlantic, at least from a rebuild perspective.
Yeah, I think the other thing to note about Buffalo, if you look at how many contracts of theirs are on their last year, it's a lot. Yeah. So a lot of these players have something to play for, whether they want to stay in Buffalo or they want to get to another team later.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, they need NHL contracts, right? We're talking Owen Power, who's RFA, Rasmus Dahlin, Victor Olofsson are all kind of done at the end of this year and need new deals. So they want to be maximizing on that value. Mm-hmm. So I think you could see Buffalo make a push. But to be honest, I don't think they did enough this offseason compared to some of the other teams in the Atlantic.
I agree.
And I don't expect them to make that many games in terms of standings.
Yeah. I agree. I have Buffalo currently as a fringe team.
Same.
And around like the 4 or 5 mark in terms of Atlantic ranking. So we'll see, but I do think they're trending upwards. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if I don't know if they're quite yet. But like you said, I totally forgot. There's so many contracts on the line this year. So there might be a bigger push, and there's people who are playing for something. So we'll see.
I also have them as a fringe team, but I have them down in 7th.
7th. Oh, wow.
Like, if we're going to get to Detroit and Ottawa, and I think those two teams did a lot more this offseason than Buffalo did, and that's going to help them a lot more than what Buffalo has.
Got it. Okay. Let's actually move on to Detroit now that you mention it.
Monster offseason.
Yeah. Pretty, I mean, the Yzer plan was in full effect, I think.
Oh, yeah. Can I just read through these additions?
Yeah.
Players that they have added since last season. Jeff Petrie on defense. Alex DeBrincat at forward. Alex Leon as, pretty sure he's a goalie. I think I wrote that wrong. Daniel Sprong as a forward. JT Compher as a forward. James Reimer in goal. Justin Hall as defenseman. And Shane Gostisbehere as a defenseman.
Yeah. In terms of depth, this is pretty wild.
This is depth and experience that they're just boosting in there.
Yeah.
And this is on top of, Larkin, Moritz Seider.
Yeah.
These young guys that they have, right? In terms of who they lost Philip Zadina, who really wasn't playing that much for them.
Yeah.
And Dominic Kubalik at forward. Like,
That's not much
It's
compared to what
not
they've
much.
gotten.
And if you look at who their top 5 were last year, all those players besides Kubalik are still there.
You think DeBrincat is going to head up into the top 6?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was in the top 6 in Ottawa. Why would he not be on Detroit?
True. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, so in a way, sure, they lost, Zadina and Kubalik, but DeBrincat's a big name. It's not just, it's hard to say he's even a depth player. Like, I feel like he has a place to shine in Detroit.
Yeah, and what we've seen in hockey is when you put top players together, they help each other grow, right?
Yeah.
So you inject DeBrincat into that top 6. Don't you think you'll get benefits for Dylan Larkin?
Yeah.
Lucas Raymond?
Yeah.
Like, you'll see their numbers increase too. Like, I'm quite excited about Detroit.
Yeah. So where do you have them actually in the rankings? I
have them as a fringe team just because there's a few stronger candidates ahead of them, and I have them in 5th.
Okay. I have them as well in 5th, or like the 5th, 6th range. So like Buffalo, but maybe slightly below as a fringe team as well. It's really hard to say. I don't know who. I also think this is a team that's trending upwards. I just don't think they're there yet. And between Buffalo and Detroit, I think both have a formula that's really like looking promising for the future. I just don't know as of this year which one's going to be better.
I mean, I'd put my faith in Stevie Yzerman.
That's true.
He built that Tampa team.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
So it's just a matter of if it happens this year or next, but it's coming.
Yeah. In the next 2 or 3 years, I see both Buffalo and Detroit being contenders.
I think the only thing kind of holding them back that I'm not putting them into the playoff category is their goaltending. They have Ville Husso, who, and the team overall for goaltending last year had, this is Ville Husso's, had a 3.11 goals against average and 0.896. So as the defense and forward core gets better, you expect those numbers to rise slightly because he's not facing as many dangerous shots.
Yeah.
So if you start getting into the 9s, the 9-10s, you could see this team really kind of picking it up, right? Yeah. And they brought in James Reimer to back him up. So there is some experience to fall back on, but you're expecting this whole team to kind of take a step together this year.
Yeah.
So I don't quite feel comfortable putting them in the playoffs section yet, but there may be a season out from that.
Yeah. I think it's promising. I think Detroit, and if you're one of the younger guys and trying to prove something, Detroit and Buffalo are both great places to play.
Oh, absolutely.
Moving on to the runner-ups, Florida Panthers. Nobody expected the season they had or the playoffs they had last year. And crazy. What's the word? Let's say it was a devastating loss to Vegas. But they had nothing to hang their heads about.
Yeah.
And they still have a lot of their top scorers, I believe, locked up long term.
Yeah.
And in terms of subtractions, I don't think they really lost much. They lost Radko Gudas, they lost Duclair, which might be a depth piece. They've lost the Stahl brothers, but overall, I don't think they're too much worse.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of shuffled out some depth, right? Like you mentioned what they lost, but they also brought in Ekman Larson to play defense, Dmitry Kulikov played defense, Evan Rodriguez at center. So it's basically when you're at the top end of the NHL, year after year, the teams that stay there, they basically shuffle out their bottom 6 all the time, right?
Yes.
Because the way the cap works, you can't be spending long-term cap at your bottom 6.
No.
So you get them short-term contracts, and when they expire, you shuffle them out. You bring in someone younger who has similar numbers for slightly cheaper.
Yeah. It's just
this is just
business.
This is business as usual, right? Yeah. Their top 5 scorers are all still there.
Yeah. I don't think Florida's. I'm not sure if they're going to have the magical postseason that they did again. Obviously, that's very rare that happens, but I'm not counting them out. I think they're a high fringe / bottom playoff team, in my opinion. So around like the 3-4 rank.
See, the thing is, they made the Cup final off the back of who? Sergei Bobrovsky.
That's true. If he decides not to show up, they could also be a lottery team.
The only thing Bobrovsky has been consistent in is inconsistency.
Yeah. So especially since signing with Florida.
Yeah. So it's entirely dependent how high they go based on how Bobrovsky plays.
Yeah.
I do think they have enough depth that they will be a playoff team. So I have them as playoffs.
Okay.
But I could not put them in contender status.
Got it.
But if Bobrovsky comes out and starts shutting everybody out again, they're easy contender.
Yeah. Okay. But fair enough. Yeah. So, so fringe playoff area. Would you say around that?
Yeah, with an
rank?
asterisk
Okay.
right next to Bobrovsky.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I would say.
Fair enough.
So,
Yeah.
but I have them as playoffs. I have them third in the division.
Okay. Got it. And in terms of my ranking, around 3-4. So let's see. Let's see. It's hard to say they'll recreate the magic, but again, we'll see how it goes. Moving on to, in my opinion, not one of the stronger teams of the Atlantic, Montreal.
I don't think they're trying to be.
No, yeah, I really don't know what they did this offseason. It seems like more so they just subtracted. I don't really know what they added. Either way, I don't see this team doing too much. I honestly have them at the bottom of the Atlantic.
Yeah, likewise. They basically dropped out Jonathan Drouin. They also dropped out Mike Hoffman, who's on San Jose now.
Yeah, that's true.
Ironically. And then,
legend.
Yeah. Their top 5 are their young guys. You're talking Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Kirby Doc, who are all still there. And that's their core of the future. But they don't have the other positions yet, right? Like, if you look at their defense, I mean, they don't really have a number 1 D guy. They're still looking for a Carey Price replacement.
Yeah.
So they don't have all the pieces yet. So I don't think they're ready to push.
I don't think they should even push, yeah.
Yeah. So I have Montreal as a lottery team, bottom of the division.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they should be. They're trying to rebuild this, and they're taking their time. They've got some good forwards. It's time to get some D and goalie this time.
Yep. There's nothing I need to add to that. I think you summed it up perfectly. I have them also at around 8th, around the bottom. But I think that's going to be for the better. For the best, at least, where they need to be right now.
Yeah, I think the goalie situation will be interesting to watch. They have Casey DeSmith and Sam Montembeault both expiring this year. Yeah. And there's just basically tryouts at this point.
Yeah.
For who wants to be goalie for the Canadians.
If you got any really good beer leaguers out there, go try out. I'm kidding.
You too could be a Montreal Canadian.
God. Anyways, let's move on to Ottawa.
This is exciting.
Yeah, I think this was one of the teams we selected that we were excited to watch last episode.
Yeah. Right.
Sure, they did lose to Brinkat as we had mentioned, but they also I still don't think they have lost that much. They still have Stützle, Tkachuk, Giroux. I think they'll be fine. I don't know if they're going to be. Oh, and they added Tarasenko. I don't think they're going to be necessarily a playoff team, but again, I think along with Buffalo and Detroit, this is a team that's trending upwards.
Yeah. In terms of what they lost, I think they kind of replaced it, right? So they lost DeBrincat, but they brought in Tarasenko.
Yes.
They lost Cam Talbot, but they brought in Jonas Korpisalo.
Yes.
So now, if I'm looking at this team, what do I say? The 3 positions that matter the most, right? Starting goalie, number 1 D, top center. They kind of have those, don't they? Korpisalo has shown that he can definitely be a starting goalie.
Yes.
You got Thomas Chabot on D, who's been a star, and you have Timmy Stützle, who put up 90 points last season.
Yeah, crazy.
And you're bringing in Tarasenko. You still have Giroux. Kachuk's going to get better. Drake Batherson's going to get better. And you have a bunch of these young guys at the bottom, like Shane Pinto, who is an RFA, but I'm assuming he's going to come back.
Yeah.
This looks like an excitingly built team.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the juggernaut of a GM, Stevie Yzerman, I would have had this team higher. But I think Detroit did a really good job. I have them as a fringe team, 6th in the division. But I think they're going to be fighting for that last playoff or that wild card spot with Boston and Detroit.
Yeah, I have them as a fringe team as well. I believe 6th. I think you're leaning a little bit more on the optimistic side that they'll make the playoffs. I'm leaning a little bit more on the pessimistic side. I think I don't think they're there yet.
And we're both balancing out to fringe.
Yeah. Basically, you're on the high end of fringe. I'm on the lower end. Again, very well built team, and they are close. I just don't think it's going to happen. Maybe not this year, and maybe not even next year. But
not even next year.
No,
really?
I think in like maybe like the 3rd year.
Oh man,
they'll be like. I think this is one of those teams that's suddenly going to become dangerously good in the way Tampa did, and where they were bad for so long. Suddenly,
they're going to skip the playoff tier, go straight to contender.
Essentially, yeah, that's what I think is going to happen with Ottawa. Again, we'll see how it goes, and not sure what Tarasenko's plan is or anything, but this is a team to watch for sure. And
Tarasenko's a really interesting one, right?
Yeah,
because if Ottawa's good, he might stay.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not, he might want to be traded at the deadline.
Yeah. How old is he? He's like 34? 33?
Early 30s.
Okay.
But what if like they're a fringe team?
Yeah.
Do you stay? Do you go?
It depends what his priority is. His priority to win a cup or money?
I think it's to win a cup, right?
Okay. Then
he wanted to go to a contender.
Then I would probably say, because he's not, he might not be, winning cups immediately. Like, I don't think Ottawa's a cup contender. But in the next couple of years, like 2 or 3 years.
He's only on a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
he signs an extension.
So he could sign an extension. That's exactly what I mean. Like, sure, if he does like a 3-4 year deal after this, I don't know. I that could be lethal.
Yeah, I mean, putting a sniper on like Tarasenko on Ottawa is, I think, what they need.
Yeah, and Erik Karlsson was that until many years ago. But
sniping from the blue line.
Yeah, sniping from the blue line, basically.
I mean, they also had like Hoffman and Stone. You know, they had a lot of scorers at that time. They had a lot
of, there's a lot of offensive skill there. And Tarasenko's a player that's needed. If I'm him, I'm seeing how this year goes, obviously, and then probably sticking around.
Yeah, basically, this is like a trial year.
Yeah,
right? I guess they're both team and player.
Yeah,
that's one I want to watch come trade deadline. See what Tarasenko's up to.
Yep.
All right, we gave our rankings there. Shall we move on to Tampa Bay Lightning?
Yes. As you have mentioned many times in previous episodes, this team is indestructibly built. This is a team that has identity, and they just need to shuffle out their depth whenever, and they'll be fine. I see this team as second in the division, easily a playoff team.
Yeah, same. I have them second as a playoff, but I don't have them in contender anymore. I don't think
cup contender.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think they're.
I agree.
They're that tier anymore.
I agree.
If you look at what they lost, like yes, it's depth, but that's significant depth, right?
Yes.
Ross Colton, Corey Perry, Alex Killorn, Ian Cole.
Yeah, not to mention they had lost, players like Andre Palat to Jersey a couple years ago. Who's doing really well in Jersey as well.
Like since the couple years since they've won their last cup, like they've lost quite a few players.
Yeah, no McDonough, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think their cup contention is over.
Yes.
I think they're still a playoff team, which means this is the NHL. Anything can happen. They could win a cup.
Yeah.
But are they really in that upper echelon?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I completely agree with that. I think they have the potential to do damage in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to be cup winning damage again.
The real question, I think, for Tampa is Steven Stamkos. Last year of his deal.
That's true.
Is he done? Does he come back? What do you think?
I feel like he comes back. At this point,
with all the injury history,
and the way Tampa has treated him, they let him play that one game where he scored a goal and got his name on the cup, stuff like that, and just the way he's been treated. I remember when he went to visit Toronto, I think it was in a previous negotiation deal. He went there, and it was just Toronto was so like not like Tampa, like it was very professional and not laid back the way he's used to, and that didn't like really appeal to him. The reason I bring up Toronto, by the way, is he is from Toronto.
Yeah.
So it was a chance to play for his hometown team, and it didn't appeal to him. So I think Steven Stamkos has kind of got that Tampa identity to him now.
Mm-hmm.
I say he stays.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't thinking he'd go somewhere else. I was thinking he might retire.
Do you think so?
I mean,
I think he's got more in him.
You've got 2 cups. You've got all these injuries. Do you still want to keep dragging this out?
I think he's got like 2 or 3. I think this is a guy who loves the game too.
Okay.
All right. I don't. Yeah, and he's got a C on his chest, right? Like,
true. He is the captain.
Yeah,
but if Tampa's gonna, I don't see them rebuilding while he's there.
No.
But if he leaves, we're talking rebuild, right?
It's gonna hurt pretty bad. I still think they got 2 or 3 years out of him.
Okay.
Assuming he stays healthy, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't see him suddenly retiring.
Yeah, and he's going to be playing a lot more wing, it seems like now, rather than center. So hopefully that eases up on his body a bit.
But they got what, Point at the center now?
Yeah, Point as the top center, which is still insane.
Yeah, any team wouldn't be lucky to have that.
But this is why we don't have I don't have Tampa as a contender, right? The biggest thing with Tampa was they would just come with waves, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Steven Stamkos and Kucherov. Oh, now it's Point and whoever. Now it's Killorn. Like, it doesn't stop, right? It's McDonough, it's Sergachev, it's Hedman. But that bottom depth is no longer there, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're come back to earth in terms of what their team is built like. And that being said, with Vasilevsky in net, anything could happen.
Yes.
But playoff category for me.
Yeah, I agree completely. I believe this is our last team, Toronto.
Yes. Toronto Maple Leafs.
For me, I have them slam dunk first in division playoff making.
Okay.
They've had some, let's say, questionable signings this offseason, and obviously they lost Dubas. So Dubas. They've lost Dubas, so it's the overall structure and way things are going to work might change a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are on 1-year deals who are trying to prove something as well, or short-term deals. But they also have now extended Austin Matthews.
That's the big news, right?
Yeah.
Austin Matthews, 4 years at 13.5.
Yeah, like 53 mil, I think. For
whatever that multiplication is. But now the highest paid player in the NHL.
Yeah, and this is... Nylander's still on contract for this year. Like, he doesn't need one this year. So
yeah,
I'm not going to say this is a final hurrah or anything, but I think if they need a push, it's got to be now.
I mean, even for this year, they're currently over the cap.
Right. So they still have work to
something.
Do. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what that work is. But.
Like, they're going to move a few players to LTIR, but even then, even if you're just barely below the cap, you're not giving yourself any flexibility for injuries or anything, right? And talking about contracts, Nylander's up this year. Both Tavares and Marner are up next year. Mm-hmm. So to keep this band together is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Not to mention, there's the whole question of, should they even keep this band together?
I don't think they should. But
right? Like, look at who they lost this offseason, right? Like, it's not their top 4, but they weren't able to keep any of their trade deadline ads. So Noel Acciari, Ryan O'Reilly are both gone. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, they're losing... Michael Bunting, who was a top 6 winger.
Really? I didn't know he left, actually.
Yeah, he's on Carolina now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
And who they brought in was a bunch of face punchers. They brought in Ryan Reeves, Tyler Bertuzzi, and Max Domi.
I mean, Bertuzzi's got skill, too. He just is also a face puncher.
Yeah, they brought him in for face punching. They don't need more skill.
Yeah, and Domi, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, they got tougher, sure, but...
I don't think that was their issue in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, their issue, the core problem is still that when they get to the playoffs, their top players don't play like their top players.
Yeah, which is understandable in the sense that everyone has bad streaks. But you can't afford, when you're getting paid that much of the salary cap, you can't afford to be bad, especially not in the playoffs.
Also, it's not just 1 year. If it was 1 year, sure.
Every year,
It's every year, right?
So, in my opinion, I think, again, we've talked about this, many times, but I don't think this band should stay together. Yeah. I think they would be better if they just let one, maybe 2 of them go for significant more depth.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And maybe having Ryan Reeves on the ice will give Austin Matthews more space.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantee,
right? Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But, I easily, especially given the strength of the Atlantic, first in the division playoff team, I just can't really say that they're a contender, like cup contender yet.
Yeah, exactly. This should be, on paper, should be a contender.
Yeah.
But because of what we've seen the past few years,
I'll believe it when I see it.
I cannot put them in that category, right? So I have them first in the division, and I have them as a playoff team. So, yeah. I just want them to do it at this point. Do something.
Yeah.
It's that meme where they have the guy with the stick just
pointing.
Yeah, do something.
Yeah, basically. I really want this team to, make some damage and actually there's also the player legacy. It's not just about, the fans got to do this, but the players are trying to prove something too. I want to believe them. I just can't until it's actually done. So.
Yeah. And Austin Matthews signed up long term, but I could totally see Nylander or Marner going somewhere else and winning there.
Yeah,
and the shit show that would bring.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Until it happens, I can't believe it.
Yeah. So that was our thoughts on the Atlantic Division.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think overall about this division?
The playoff teams are good, but I don't have anyone in the Atlantic as a cup contender.
Same.
At all.
There's not a cup contender in this division.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple, there's only one truly lottery team, which is Montreal, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And one for sure absolutely going to make that playoff, or 2, I guess, which is Toronto and Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see either of them going far in the playoffs until it happens.
Which is insane to say, considering the last, 4 or 5 finals have had an Atlantic team in them.
Yep.
But I think it's the Metro's time to shine in the East.
Yeah. Or just, I don't know, somewhere else too. It could be the West again for all I know. But yeah, overall, not a bad division. Overall, not a good division.
Yeah. This is the most mid division.
Yeah, basically. So, great way to start off these analyses.
So, to wrap up here, can you just go ahead and give our listeners your 1 to 8, the Atlantic division?
Yeah. Toronto first, Tampa second. I'll say Boston third, Florida fourth. I want to say, let's say Detroit. I'm just going to say Detroit, Buffalo. Somewhere around that 5-6 position. And if not, then Ottawa below that. And then for sure last is Montreal.
Okay, yeah, mine's pretty similar, but I think you're pretty high on Buffalo. I have Toronto first, Tampa second, Florida third, Boston fourth, which is flipped from yours.
Got it.
Then for 5, 6, 7, I have Detroit, Ottawa, Buffalo. And then 8, I have Montreal.
So we swapped Ottawa, Buffalo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're a lot higher on the Sabres than I am, and I think you still think the Bruins will be in the division spot rather than a wild card.
Yeah, for some reason I feel like the Florida run was a little bit of magic. Remember when they were about to not make the playoffs, and you were like, "Oh, Crosby's gonna do it. Crosby and Malkin are gonna do it," and then that didn't happen. And I mean, the rest is history. But Florida has the chance of missing again, in my opinion.
Okay, so I see. Nah.
I think they just showed up big when it mattered most last year. So that's why I have them fourth. But
Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, Tkachuk. Let's see. Is the Tkachuk gene going to come in? And did Bob remember to practice hockey?
We will see.
Yeah.
We hope you guys enjoyed this preview. We'll be doing the other divisions in our next episode. So keep it tuned here as we build toward the season, preseason, and the real season.
And feel free to tell us how wrong we are in the comments, because everyone is right except for us. So
yeah, we're gonna get absolutely clowned on like a week into the season.
Yeah,
when Montreal's leading the league.
Yeah, and just another team somehow joins the Atlantic. Gary Bettman surprise.
Yeah. Arizona's in the Atlantic now.
If we move them to a different division, they won't go.
Yeah.
Whatever, stupid.
Keep it tuned here. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple, and Google. We are also on YouTube and Instagram if you want to follow us there. So at Spud Network Podcast is the handle on both of those platforms. We are out every week, so keep it listening, and we'll keep going. Catch you next episode.
Peace.
Bye.